what to do if we end up in a front headlock scenario. So I kind of want to focus more on that today and probably also Thursday. How this can happen, usually a little bit different than forcing my partner to turtle away from me from like a back take or a guard pass. Usually this is more off of like a takedown or shutting up someone's takedown. Maybe they could turtle into you, but it's less likely. But the difference is, say we're going to start in front of our partner. I think it's just as important to know how to control someone from in front in a headlock scenario as it is from the back. Maybe even more so because they're closer to our legs, so it's very likely they'll keep trying to work takedowns. So two things I want to talk about today. One is I have to kill the control of his arms on my legs for the most part before I start attacking the neck or transitioning to the back. And that's a pretty safe rule of thumb. There'll be times where you can kind of disregard that and work around that rule, but I think if you're just seeing this for the first time, it's a pretty safe rule because I need to kill the control of his hands on my legs before I do anything. Okay. The second thing, what was the second thing? Okay, just rotate a little bit this way. How I control him with my arms. I never really go two arms like over his armpits. Okay, it's just like a seatbelt. I need an arm over a shoulder and under an armpit, regardless of what side I go to. The reason we don't go two arms over is you can do like a wrestling sit-through. So if Nabil gets to his hands, yeah, and then now just like a knee cup motion, almost flaring his elbow high. It's like he's gonna knock you forward and then potentially take your back from here. So for that reason, when you get someone in like a front headlock scenario, never reach over them. Okay, I always want one arm in front of his shoulder, one arm underneath his armpit. The first one we're gonna look at is just transitioning to the back. So if I have a headlock control here, the grip is pretty much up to you, but I always think like a gable grip is the best option. So putting my palms together and not using my thumbs. This is not a gable grip. Your grip is gonna be weaker at the thumbs. So I put my thumbs next to my index fingers and then wrap all my fingers around. Okay, and that way it lets you like pull in, but also like a good squeeze with your elbows. And that's the best grip I can make around my partner here. Okay. I like to go a little bit deeper with my arm over the shoulder so I can try and like break his elbow in a little bit. I pull the elbow to me. A couple different grips we can use here. My arm that's around his shoulder can cup his tricep, or I can keep control of his chin. Okay, the problem with the chin is he might be more free to move his arm around here. So I like personally to go to the tricep if I can reach it. If they're a lot bigger, I might just go to the chin instead. I'm really just cupping under his chin. Okay, I'm gonna tuck my head into the pocket here. So again, I like to have this tricep grip so I feel a little bit safer to tuck my head in here. My left hand is gonna reach around for Nabil's heel. I'm gonna pull like the heel to me. So you can see I'm creating a very awkward side bend. And I'm using both my arms to pull my elbows to my body to keep this side bend. And then I start to circle so I can safely remove my head behind him. That way he's unable to like use his arms to kind of hook my leg and take me back down. Okay. And then from here we did a couple weeks ago our back take. So if you wanna circle to one side, feed your lapel, hand and knee to the floor and start to already pull him back for your hooks and your seatbelt, you can add that too if you want. But I mainly want to focus on just that first transition of circling around my partner. Again. And the first rule I was referring to as well is like if Nabil's holding either of my legs here, I have to sprawl to get rid of this first. There are going to be some like advanced back takes like you could do, but there's always running the risk of like him taking me down if I don't get rid of his arm on my leg first. So if I end here and I make my headlock control, I'll sprawl back until I lose the control on the legs, and then now I'll transition. So again, in my front headlock scenario, I gable grip. You can cup the chin or the tricep as long as you feel there's enough space for you to tuck your head. And I'm on my toes. My head goes right into the space into the armpit. Here now in this scenario, I have just the chin. Once my head's in the armpit, he can't really do much with this arm. He can't reach around and grab my head. And then now I'm safe to fish out that heel and pull it to me. And again, you can see like the awkward bend I'm putting in him. I'm pulling the heel and the head. And this is just one option. There's nothing wrong with being here and just doing a quick like back step, but you always run the risk of like if he's ready, he can always hook your leg. So if as I go to back step, he's ready to catch me with this leg, or with your arm starting to do, catch your arm around. Yeah, I feel like this, it's like I could still potentially get taken down here. So that's why I think this is just one of the slower and safer options. So front headlock, I sprawl my legs away. Again, I pass either to the tricep or to the chin, tucking my head into the armpit, reaching for the heel, pulling the heel to me, circling until I'm past like the midline. And then now I can take my head out, attach my chest to his back. And then again, if I want to pass my lapel, knee lining up with his knee, hand on the floor, I can start to pull him back for my seatbelts and my hooks, just like we saw a couple weeks ago. Okay, if you weren't here for that, don't worry, just work on the transition to the back. One more time. Chest on his back, headlock control. Gable grip, pinching tight for control. I'm being lazy, I should really actually be off my knees here. When I'm ready again, I try and pull the elbow in tight so that's easier to reach across here. Okay, if he's flaring his elbow, it's gonna be a little bit harder to reach. So again, I could go to the chin, but I really like to go gable grip and try and suck his elbow in. Then I tuck my head into the gap, either reaching for the tricep or the chin, reaching for his heel, pulling it to me, walking to the side. Now I can safely take my head out and start tackling the back. All right, let's try this, guys. 1, 2.
It's been like 15 years since this happened.
Okay, so like I mentioned, this isn't like the only way to go to the back, and it's probably one of the slower ways, but I think it offers the most control. I'm, for the most part, almost at no risk of a takedown if I create this side bend, keeping the control over his chin, his arm, and his heel, right? And I think a lot of times if we do this correctly, we put good pressure, you might create so much of a side bend that it forces me to be able to sit to his hip, in which case I don't even have to break him down from turtle. Sometimes you get the turtle and the person's so rigid and just wants to sit there and unwilling to move, that it can be hard to open them up and put hooks in or pull them to their back. So I think what's nice about this control is once I collapse the elbow and I cup here, you see how like his arms are to the right of me. There's no way he can like grab my leg here, at least with a strong control. So I'm safe, dip my head in, I'm on my toes, like pressuring into the heel, and then reaching for the heel, pulling this to me. And again, we're just going nice and light with the control, but of course, I just keep pulling until my head switches out and I can circle behind him. So we're going slow and putting all this pressure. It's more of like a wrestling technique, but the idea is he's unable to take me down the whole time, so I'm safe. Definitely, you could just be really fast and just switch your hip and circle behind him. But I don't want us to necessarily build bad habits of doing this when he has my legs and then he takes me down. You got the turtle and then he just finished the takedown, now you're on bottom. Okay, so I think what we just did is the slowest and safest way to transition to the back without just having to be fast and rely on speed. You're learning to control and not letting him be able to grab your legs and finish the takedown. Now, with that same idea, I want to work on a choke from here with the head and arm without having to let go and attack just the neck. Let's rotate this way, here. So, same idea. I'm going to use my grip to break down that elbow again. And instead of circling to the back now, because I've tucked his elbow in, I'm actually just going to gator roll underneath. Okay, we're going to attack our anaconda choke. We don't normally see this in the gi just because of the fabric. It can be a little bit harder. But I think still very realistic, especially from this like static position turtle. So same control. I'm still going to go gable grip. I'm going to shoot my right arm a little bit deeper, just like we did, and I'm going to use my elbow to tuck his elbow in tight. If his elbow base is wide to the floor, it's going to be pretty hard for me to force him to roll. So I still want that same control. Like my chest is on his back. I still have my gable grip. Actually, we should have done the same one first. So here, same headlock control, and I pinch the elbow in. And now you can see again that gap. So same theme. My head is going to go into the gap. I need my head to go into the gap. If I stay here and I gator roll here, one, it might be hard to roll him, but two, even if I roll him, he's going to crush my face. So I need my head to go into this hole. So when I'm here, I tuck my head here. Now, I just gator roll with him. Okay, again, because I had this post taken out, it should be very easy to roll him. As soon as we get here, most likely Nabil's trying to flare his elbow like this. So I try and keep my clamp. If I can't beat him with my arms, I'm going to do almost like a little back roll and use my top leg to push down on his tricep. As I do that, I'll do like this chopping motion to get my arm deeper. As it gets a little bit deeper, I'm going to slide my other arm to connect to my bicep and hug Nabil's lat here. Now, I'm already going to start squeezing, but as I'm squeezing, I'm walking my legs like a claw, ideally trying to reach for Nabil's legs. See how I can't reach it yet? So as I start to walk here, I start squeezing, and I usually get the tap before I even get to hook the leg. Okay, so that's how tight your grip should be. And it all gets adjusted because of this, pushing down with my knee on his tricep, tightening this by like chopping. I'm trying to get my hand up to the ceiling, but then that chopping motion works a little bit better to free more of my hand. So now I can attach to my tricep or bicep here, and my hand just hugs the back. If you were to walk around and look at any angle, once I have that grip set up, there'd be no space between us. Everything is super tight to the heel here. And think about the mechanics of the choke. My forearm and bicep are on the bottom side of his artery, and then once I use my knee to push down here, and I lock up tight here, this arm is pinching his own arm into his neck, so his own shoulder is going into the other artery. The walking is just helping to like push his neck in to finish like kinking the hose, but I'm putting pressure from all angles now. My bottom arm gets the bottom artery, my top arm gets the top, and then I'm just adding extra juice by just walking him in. Okay, ideally I'd walk all the way until pretty much I was able to hook one of his legs and pull it to me here. But you can see you're already getting the tap for the most part before you even get there. At least if we do the adjustments correctly. So again, same front headlock control, head and arm. Okay, tuck the elbow down, keeping my gable grip this time. I'm not switching off to the tricep. I keep my grip here, pinching out everything nice and tight. My head again goes into the hole. I just roll. Okay, here. As soon as we get here, you could already start slapping this on, but I really like that adjustment of using the knee to push down, so I'm safe to let go and chop. And then I slide to my bicep. Okay, everything should feel already really tight. And then now I start walking into him as I start squeezing here. And ideally I'd go all the way so I can hook this leg, and then now I can squeeze anymore. But again, I think if you do your adjustments right, by the time you're walking there, I rarely actually reach the leg. I usually get the tap before that. Then, head and arm control, pinching that elbow in tight, tucking my head into the hole, rolling him over here, shooting my arm deep through. Again, if I could go here, if you have long arms, feel free. Already it can be relatively tight, but I really like using this like back roll. It's like push his tricep down, chop, reconnect to my bicep, tricep, and then again from here, just slowly, yeah, you already start walking and you should get the tap at that point. But if you still need more squeeze, just keep walking your legs and trying to get to a position where my leg is poking his leg and pulling him to me. So I get my attack here and I start walking as I squeeze. Okay, I'm compressing everything from all angles. Make sense? All right, let's try one, two. It's almost always safer if he has my leg, if I am able to like sprawl and break the control before I do any of my transitions. Okay, is it wrong to do it? No. It's just risky if you try and transition while he still has your leg. Okay, a good wrestler will keep driving, keep finishing the takedown. But any attacks or submissions, you know, if you're able to roll them to side control, mount, take the back, or submit, reset. If they take you down, obviously you didn't have enough control, reset. Does that make sense?